Hey, you know what? Sports Hub STL is presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. It is the Randy Karraker Show featuring Brooke Grimsley. Brooke is out on maternity leave, Matthew Rocchio in. And thanks to you and Claves for so ably handling the show yesterday. It was sensational.
Of course. Thank you so much for joining us from the golf tournament.
It was fun. It was good to be over at the Tiger Club of St. Louis tournament at Bogey Hills. I had a chance to play with the folks from Chicken and Pickle, which is a spectacular.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, just a spectacular place to play. Let me make sure that I get all the names right because I don't want to mess this up. So my new friends from Chicken and Pickle are Andrew Hill, Mitch Hannigan, Josh Kind, and Martha Davis Goldstein. Played with them. We had a great time playing golf, and the folks at Mizzou raising a lot of money because they need a lot of money, because every single SEC player is going to be making at least six figures this year. We talked about this. I don't know if we've ever nailed it down. Last year, there were at least 16, probably more 16 quarterbacks in college football that were making more than Brock Purdy.
Did you say every player in the SEC will make six figures?
There will not be a starter in the SEC. Starter.
Sorry, I was like, whoa, wait, what?
So, and I asked Coach Drink, I said, hey, could you build a team now where you only get transfers? And he said, no, you couldn't do it. You still have to recruit high school players because it's so expensive to get transfers. So you can still, and obviously you have to pay for high profile high school players too, but you have to get those lower level guys, those 3-stars that you're going to coach up and turn them into good players.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. The coaching up factor is still going to be a big thing.
Yep.
It is kind of like we're talking about a pro team where it's like, yeah, you can sign your free agents all you want, but if you don't build through the draft, you're never going to be able to build out a full team. And yeah, we were always on this path to college football, especially becoming essentially just the pro game.
Yeah.
And the only reason I think it hasn't is because why would the NFL worry about subsidizing a league if they don't have to?
Exactly.
So, right. And that's always been a thing. It is minor league football. That's what it is.
Yeah.
We're just being honest about it now, and good. The players are being paid. Hopefully, we can start now moving forward to mitigating the largest issues that were created by the situation of the NCAA, which is teaching financial responsibility, getting corrupt agents out of the game, those kind of things. And that's why them actually working with the settlement to create a situation where we do not have NIL agents who are getting 20 to 30%, where we finally cap those guys like they should be capped, like an agent in sports at 3 to 6%. That will all be better going forward. This is all for the betterment of college football in the long run.
And by the way, if a company still wants to pay a player to receive financial remuneration for name, image, likeness, for example, if we here at Sports Hub STL wanted to hire Bo Prabula, the Mizzou quarterback, and give him X amount of dollars, this is even after the House settlement is complete, and the salary cap for a university's athletic department for players is $20.5 million. If a player wants to earn above and beyond what the school is actually paying him or her, they can. So Paul Skeen's girlfriend, Livy Dunn, she can still make all of the money. The Cavender twins can still go out and make their own deals and have their own social media gold mines if they want.
There you go. Two things. First of all, Pink Puma polo is just an absolute power move from Randy Karraker. A lot of P's there, by the way, popping the plosives. Also, the second thing, I think yesterday when we had you on was the second or third time that you've mentioned Bo Prabula blowing up the stats board in the Mizzou gym. And we talked about the ridiculous quote that was obviously, I think, planted by Lane Kiffin about Prabula being part Burrow, part Tebow, and part Cam Newton. Yeah. Just a ridiculous quote. But did you happen to have any other conversations around Bo Prabula during the golf tournament that kind of added on or accentuated those stories of his athletic prowess?
The only thing that struck me was that and this was a guy that was the backup to Penn State, and Penn State envisioned him as their future starter. They've got a good program, a really good program, and he's everything Mizzou expected he would be. And by the way, he was not their first choice. The USC guy was their first choice. They didn't get him, but Prabula is a nice consolation prize.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And obviously the importance of the quarterback, the fact that as fun as the Sam Horn thing always was, there's just something about multi-sport athletes that we just can't get away from now, because I guess the way that college sports centers you in everything, we now just can't get over when a guy's either a two-way player in the sport or a two-sport player. So the Sam Horn thing's fun, but it's clear, I think, that it's hard to be an SEC program without having a quarterback who can be 100% from in every way, shape, or form. There's not a single baseball practice that overruns with a spring practice. Bo Prabula is 100% playing football from Mizzou, and I love what Sam Horn's doing, but I just think that level of difference for an SEC team is material right off the bat.
And when Sam Horn got going this year for the Mizzou baseball team, he was throwing 94, 95. By the way, Miller Moss was the USC guy, came in and actually apparently this is from our friend Frank Cusimano, that they had him working out, Miller Moss, next to Sam Horn. And Moss is looking next to him saying, okay, I got to come in and beat out this guy, because Horn has tremendous physical abilities. And apparently Miller Moss said, you know what, I'll just go to Louisville.
Yeah, it's hard not to get excited about the Missouri Tigers. And listen, we're going to have plenty of Missouri Tigers coverage on Sports Hub STL. Brandon Schaefer, who joins this show every once in a while, he's locked in on Columbia. He's going to be one of the guys spearheading it, but a lot of great Mizzou football coverage coming up here on Sports Hub STL. Can't wait for it.
The Cardinals open a series with the Royals with cheese tonight at the ballpark. It'll be Andre Palante going against Michael Lorenzen. At least Lorenzen won't hit a home run against the Cardinals tonight. Probably.
There we go. I like that.
So
sunshine lollipops.
Yeah, sunshine lollipops. And an interesting thought by you. Only the fourth time, and the Cardinals have played this will be game, I think, 59 tonight. And only the fourth team that the Cardinals will have played multiple series against this season. Another problem with the schedule where you aren't playing the interdivision games. The Mets, the Phillies, and the Pirates were the other three that the Cardinals have played. The Pirates are the only NL Central team that the Cardinals have played twice, and they'll have played the Royals twice before they play the Cubs at all.
It's insane to me that of those four teams listed, it's one NL Central team, two NL Easts, and then an AL team. Like, that list should be at the worst two NL Central teams, an NL team, and an AL team. Like, the fact that it's two Royal series before a second Cincinnati series, a second Cubs series, or a second Milwaukee series is insane. Even getting multiple Mets and Phillies series in is kind of crazy to me. It's just, and one of the points I had with Claves yesterday, and I brought this up with the cat, he disagreed, is how much the schedule can affect how you evaluate certain players. Specifically, my point was young players who we don't have the 8,000 career at bats to base off of. Okay, this is what he usually is. He's playing above it or he's playing below it. He will regress or progress towards the mean. With some of these young players who are playing above their head, but we don't have the ability to say they're going to regress, how do you evaluate it? And Clay's point was it might actually be trickier this year because there's no situation where Ivan Herrera is seeing the same pitcher within a month. And so every pitcher now facing Ivan Herrera is just going off video instead of the actual physical matchups. And Clay was talking about the potential that actually maybe changes how you evaluate guys like Herrera or Victor Scott, because the usual variables of a pitcher knows you and has faced you before, it isn't there because they haven't faced them before this year. And how does that change when you're facing a team in the third or fourth series in July or August?
I think that's a great point. Now I'm going to pick out a guy, not that it worked for the Cardinals to play against him, but let's just look at a guy like Kyle Hendricks when the schedule was what it was. Okay. Kyle Hendricks pitched against, I'll give you Milwaukee. Okay. This is a better example. Pitched against Milwaukee on April 8th, pitched against Milwaukee on April 19th. This is Kyle Hendricks when he was with the Cubs. Pitched against Milwaukee on July 29th. That was his third start of the year against him. Pitched against them on September 10th. Pitched against them on September 23rd. That's 5 starts against the Cubs. He also pitched three times against the Cardinals. Let me make sure I have that correct. Yeah, 3 times against the Cardinals that year. There's no way you can get that sort of familiarity. So if you're a young hitter, let's just use, let's just assume we had this exact scenario, okay? And an average of 4 starts because you're playing what was a better schedule with division play. How much easier would it be for guys like Victor Scott II or Nolan Gorman, if they're getting the runway, to be able to improve because they see guys on a regular basis?
That's a great, and literally as you were saying, I was like, there is the opposite side of the coin, which is the hitters being able to take advantage of maybe pitchers who are stealing stuff because they are not seeing. The hitter doesn't get a chance to see that pitcher in person, is only looking at video. So you're right. Maybe it does kind of even out overall, but we don't really know how to grade it right now. And it could lead us to maybe saying, well, Ivan Herrera is going to regress towards the mean, or it could be a situation where maybe there is a little bit more room where other central pitchers who have to go against Ivan Herrera, the third time they see him, he's just going to smoke them.
Yep. And I think on both sides, whether it is a hitter or a pitcher, the cream is going to rise to the top. The more Albert Pujols saw a pitcher, the better he was going to be against that pitcher. Conversely, the more Chris Carpenter saw a hitter and knew that hitter's tendencies and knew what he would do in certain counts, especially when he had Dave Duncan to be his pitching coach and understand the tendencies of hitters and Yachty catching to develop a game plan. The more often those guys saw an opponent, the better they were going to be against them. Now, if you're a bad player and you don't adjust, that's one thing. But if you're a good player and you understand the tendencies and abilities of another player, like there were guys that you know that if you throw them a pitch on the inside part, that they can't do anything with it. There are some guys that just can't hit. If you throw a pitch on the inside part of the plate, they can't hit a ball on the inside part of the plate. Here's an example. Steve Garvey, when he played for the Padres after the Dodgers, Todd Worrell had a great slider. Steve Garvey couldn't touch Todd Worrell's slider. And when you know that sort of a thing, you just keep throwing him sliders, right? And Garvey was whiff, because he couldn't touch Todd Worrell.
So looking at this anecdotally, are we potentially dealing with a guy like Jordan Walker having a really strong 14 days because he goes up against pitchers who haven't faced him and they don't know, just default to low and away because he'll chase it and you'll get him that way.
And he's adjusted.
To it.
Absolutely.
But it's still something that can maybe be hit. And were we looking at a 2-week period where pitchers didn't take advantage of that? Or are we looking at a period where he adjusted to it? That's something you got to dive in really deep and figure out. And it's why these discussions are so hard. And it's also why I give teams leeway when they screw up evaluation because dang, it's hard.
Grand Slam Scotty, have zero doubt that Herrera will turn into an absolute monster at the plate.
That's fair.
I'm with you. I'm very intrigued by what his future holds. But we talk about adjustments. He's a guy that clearly makes adjustments. Had a 1,000+ OPS in the minors for a long time. He can hit. I'm just interested to see, Matthew, where he winds up, what position he winds up being, because I think he's too good of an athlete to just be a DH. I would say that if he's not going to catch, and it doesn't appear that that's what his future holds, maybe you move him to first base sooner rather than later. Maybe you try him in left field. I'm interested to see where the ball club, and Chaim Bloom specifically, feel like he would best serve the club.
Give him first base, give him left field. There's no reason he shouldn't be able to play those. I watch him and I think about another big hitting catcher who wasn't a catcher, and so they played him at both corner positions and they played him in the outfield, Carlos Santana.
Yeah, that's
and in my opinion, he's more athletic than Carlos Santana. He does not have the arm, and that's why he won't even play the amount of time that Santana played at catcher. But I think Santana's factor was his knees, and they didn't want to do the damage to his knees, so they said we're going to put you in a position. So put him at first base, put him at left field. Clearly, you have the perfect outfield coach to mitigate a guy's positioning with maybe not having the strongest arm. That's why I love John Jay, because if there's like any guy who knows how to cover a lot of ground without having a lot of foot speed and not be caught in bad situations without having a lot of arm talent, it's John Jay as an outfielder. So let Ivan Herrera work with John Jay, turn him into a little bit of a left fielder. I would love it. Clearly, I just think that's how you build baseball long term. If you got a guy you can hit and you need a little positional flexibility, find out if he's athletic enough to cover left field. And if he is, everything opens up. And if he's not, okay, fine, we'll pinch it somewhere else.
I don't know that and I want to go back to the last note that was up on the screen there about Jordan Walker, because I think that people have a tendency, again, to judge players on too small of a sample size. And what Mason Windu just told us is that he is of the belief that the coaching staffs of the Phillies, Royals, Tigers, Diamondbacks and Orioles are all terrible.
Well, I think maybe more to Bubs' point, I think he's probably maybe in the camp of
Bubs.
Walker did adjust. These teams have access
Mm-hmm.
to too much film. They're all going to take advantage of an obvious weakness like that. I think that's fair, but I do think there's a difference for anybody between watching film, trusting that implicitly versus doing it out there on the field and then being able to trust it. I think with a lot of athletes, there is a level of trust between the video telling you and the stats telling you, and then the actual result on the field convincing you.
Well, and I think there's also sometimes what you see as a player is walking through a clubhouse or sitting on the couch in the clubhouse and watching on TV. You see it and you say, okay. But then you get up to the plate, and then after the game is, "Ooh, I didn't know that was coming." Like Jason Mott, when he was the Cardinal closer, you go into other clubhouses, and what they saw on tape, because he had such incredible late movement, and you just can't see it on a TV screen, what it is when you're at the plate.
Yeah, I think Mason Windu, based on his response here, Walker is just getting better at laying off those low and away pitchers, so pitchers are having to come to him more. I think Mason Windu's comments was less criticizing Walker or other major league pitchers. I think it was more criticizing my analysis, which is fair, which is very fair.
Okay, well, I just and you don't know, because here's the wonder, and what makes great players great. The wonder of a guy like Barry Bonds, Albert Pujols, even Matt Holliday, was that they and Pujols, because we knew him intimately, was the perfect example of this. He adjusted pitch to pitch.
Yeah.
Some guys, they adjust week to week or game to game. Albert was adjusting pitch to pitch, at bat to at bat, and he had a really good knowledge of what the opposing pitcher was going to do. It's an innate thing. Kurt Warner would talk about how he could go up to the line of scrimmage, look at the defense, and know exactly what the defense was going to do. Even if they were going to try to disguise something, he was able to read it. Same thing with Albert. When Mike Hampton, he got his first major league hit off of Mike Hampton. And I think Hampton threw him a breaking ball, or it was a changeup on the outside. And then Albert got him, and as a rookie, first at bat, a cutter on the inside part of the plate, and Albert got a base hit off of it. And he talked about that with Odalis Perez. He knew what a guy like Odalis Perez, some pitchers, they just give it away, but he knew what a guy like that was going to do, and he would go boom and hit the ball out of the ballpark. I don't think that Jordan Walker, I think he's more athlete than innate baseball player at this point. I don't know if he's going to make the innate adjustments quickly, but I don't have a problem with that. If he can give you numbers, and he turns his athletic ability into being the best baseball player that he can be, that'd be fine. But some people are naturals, and it's hard to compare what we had, the natural in Albert Pujols, to anybody else. It's unfair.
It's they said that about Anthony Edwards when he was coming out of that he was an athlete, not a basketball player. And it's worked out pretty well for him. And I think it can work out pretty well for Jordan Walker. Roll with the athleticism, let the intricacies come, get the coaching, and don't force him. I think that's a great point. By the way, something I'm going to start doing just for the fun of it is whenever you say a stat that I know you know for a fact, because I know you have Mike Hampton in the back of your head forever. I'm just going to type it in and see if Google AI Overview actually gets it right.
Okay.
We're going to do like reverse trivia questions for the computers now. Okay. AI Overview got that one right. I typed in who did Albert Pujols get his first career hit off? They actually got that stat right. Apparently, the game was an 8-0 loss by the Cardinals.
Yeah, but he got a hit.
Okay. That's what I think. We're just going to start testing AI Overview more often.
Yep. And by the way, and obviously the days are getting further away now, last couple of weeks so for Jordan Walker, 320, 346 on base, 440 slug, 786. And he did not have a spectacular May completely, but man, his second half of May was really good. Only hit 224 for the month, got off to a bad start, but his OPS went way up over the course of the last 2 weeks of that month.
And if you haven't read it, we talked about the piece in a couple of days ago on The Athletic from Katie Wu, where she had that fantastic quote from Ali Marmol breaking down his entire plan. Obviously, the very next day they have to put him on the IL for the wrist injury, but the plan with Walker is essentially play him as often as possible. Maybe give him a day off every 4 days, but righty, lefty, right now, runway is definitional for Jordan Walker. And I hope that continues. The only thing I'm hoping within this point while he's gone. I just hope we see 1 or 2 good games from Nolan Gorman. I like that conversation. I'd like if we had a reason to keep having it, because right now we're running out of reasons to keep having the Nolan Gorman talks, and I need him to keep the conversation alive.
You're going to have maybe 5 or 6 days tops where you could play Donovan in the left and play Gorman at second base, but we're getting to that point now where you're just going to run out of runway for Nolan Gorman. Tonight, you've got him against the right-hander in Lorenzen, right? So he's probably in the lineup at second base. I got to pay more attention to the pitching pairings coming up. Tomorrow, Kansas City will throw somebody named Noah Cameron at the Cardinals. Yes, sir.
Do you remember when all those bad things were happening with planes? Remember that one plane crash out of like South Korea where the plane literally just hit a concrete wall at the end of a runway?
Oh, yeah.
It didn't take off. Yeah. Kind of Nolan Gorman-y right now. There's just a wall. Yeah. There's a wall at the end of the runway, and there's not that much runway left. No. And if you do not pull up and get in the air, fiery crash at the end.
Yeah. By the way, Noah Cameron is a lefty. I thought you were talking about the crash in San Francisco.
No, I was not.
It was one of the all-time. Can we get that? It was one of the great newscasts in the history of.
I don't think.
Oh, come on!
I don't think we want to play a San Francisco newscast after a plane crash.
Oh yeah, it's great. Here,
oh my gosh!
Here, I'll email it to you. It's
okay.
It's fun city. No, it's not horrible. It's fun city. So we'll get it. I know that you guys know about it. You've listened to me long enough.
The darkest segment I ever did was a plane crash in San Francisco. Shout out Mark.
Oh no, I'm not.
Don't try to top it. That was a joke.
If anybody got hurt in this plane crash?
Oh, okay,
or not.
That's good.
We'll do it. Hold on.
Bill Downton throws out, the league seemed to be getting a lot of younger look at players. They said the other day that there were 7 guys under 22. Obviously, the youth getting a look today. Jack,
what did you say?
7 guys under 22 in Major League Baseball.
The what?
The league seems to be getting a lot younger. Look at all the players that said the other day. There's the Utes. We're talking about Utes.
Yeah. What did you say?
Yeah. Okay. I said youths. 7 guys under 22. One of the youths who's going to be making his debut, obviously, Jack Caglione, as we talked about. Nice early June call up there by the Royals.
Oh yeah, I like that. I'm excited about seeing him tonight. So he's one of the youths. Caglione, who was the 6th pick in the draft. I didn't realize this. Katie Wu told us this morning on the TV show on Matrix Midwest that the Cardinals were ready to take him, but the Royals took him the pick before the Cardinals took Weatherholt. But this year, in 2 stops in the minors, AA and AAA, Jack Caglione hit, and spelled like Jack Collinsworth with no K, just JAC, 322, 389 on base, 593 slug for a 982 OPS, 15 homers, 56 RBIs between AA and AAA this year. Pretty good. And I'm glad that he's going to make his major league debut tonight as the Cardinals start a run, Matthew, of 29 games in 30 days.
Yeah, it's an insane schedule, by the way. Lex Luthor's a little mad. Noah Cameron is from Missouri, Randy. How dare you not know who he is?
What part of Missouri?
Yes, this is my point. I looked this up. He's from St. Joe, Missouri, which essentially means he's from Kansas City, yeah. Which means that Randy shouldn't know who baseball players on the left side of the state are. That's ridiculous.
I don't even care.
It's St. Joe, Missouri. I mean, I'm not locking into baseball players out of Kansas City who are playing for the Royals. Nice story.
Chiefs do training camp there,
yeah,
right? Good
story. I'm sure he went to Chiefs training camp when he was a little kid. Great story for Noah Cameron.
Yeah, great.
I'm shocked that you're not surprised. Like I'm shocked that you're not surprised that I didn't know about that story at all. My bad.
Yeah. So that's that is what it is. Okay. Noah Cameron, Missourian. Noah Cameron is going to pitch for the Royals.
You know what? I actually am kind of intrigued. The fact that he's from St. Joe, it is kind of a cool story.
Do you remember Aaron Crow? He hated the Cardinals.
He did.
And he hated the Cardinals. He hated St. Louis. So why should I care where he's from?
That's a really good point.
He was a Mizzou guy, right?
Yeah, and as we know, when they came through here, Sporting Kansas City, the soccer club, has a St. Louisan who has now who has 100% he's a traitor. Bottom line, I can't call him anything other than a traitor.
He's a traitor.
He was born in Baldwin, and
his first name is Benedict, right?
Yeah, he has to be. And he was born in Baldwin. Now he's talking about how much better Kansas City is than St. Louis. I mean, that's beyond the pale.
Yeah. And by the way, I one of the guys I played golf with yesterday from Kansas City. He said, "No, St. Louis is awesome. He loves living in St. Louis."
It got started on Twitter yesterday. Somebody kicked off the anger about St. Louis and Kansas City. Although I have to address this, Randy, because I try not to get angry at the Utes. But there's this kid, Mizzou student, who started up the anger, and he's like, Kansas City hates St. Louis. St. Louis asks who when you ask him about Kansas City. And then later on, down in the replies, somebody responded to him why the feud happens with a picture of the Don Dankinger missed call. This Mizzou student, who is obviously a student, so therefore under 21, so he was born in the early 2000s, responds to that picture with, Grok, what is this a picture of? And like, here's the, like, I'm not saying you got to know everything, but if you're on Twitter trying to start a beef about the Royals and the Cardinals and Kansas City and St. Louis, you better damn well know a picture of the Don Dankinger missed call from '85 before you start that. Like, you have to have a little knowledge before you start the fight. What are you doing, kid?
Yeah, I don't want to hear that kind of stupidity.
Like, I'm not saying he's wrong. He's 100% right, but you have to
you know what?
You have to know what you're doing.
Yeah, we had no reason, and I still have no reason to dislike. I like Kansas City a lot, and I don't dislike the Royals. And as a matter of fact, Jack Buck always said that the way things turned out with their manager Dick Hauser passing away the next year and Dan Quisenberry dying of cancer, he said, you know what? As it turns out, that's just the way it was supposed to be. It wasn't pleasant for Cardinal fans, but it was just the way it was meant to be. And I don't disagree with that at all. But I don't, and I know there's a lot of people that hate Kansas City because of the Chiefs, but I have no qualms about what happened in '85 anymore. I'm past that.
There's definitely jealousy of KC considering they have an NFL franchise, but we don't. I don't think there's a single person whose beef with Kansas City started post 2016, unless you're a kid and you didn't go to Mizzou until then, because that's when my beef with Kansas City, because I grew up first 18 years of my life never thinking about Kansas City. It was, I had no reason to think about it. The only time I ever thought about Kansas City was I played lacrosse at CBC for a little bit, and there's a little bit of a Rockhurst thing there. That was the first time I ever thought about Kansas City. And then I get to Mizzou, and every Kansas City person who finds out I'm a Cardinals fan just immediately, I hate you. I hate you. I hate what you stand for. I hate your city.
What year was that?
This would have been 2009.
Okay, so the reason for that is that interleague play started in 1997, and between 1997 and the time you got there, I don't think the Royals ever had a winning season. And when the Cardinals would come there in interleague play, the Cardinal fans would take over their stadium, but also provide a lot of revenue to their area. And by the way, they do now. I'm sure that they're, especially with school out, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Royals fans, a lot of blue in the stands over the course of the next 3 days. And that's great. I love and I enjoyed, aside from Steve Everett breaking Kurt Warner's hand in that game against Kansas City in 2001. I hated it.
I was lying. There is one way I think about the Chiefs when I was a little kid before I got to college. I used to hate, the most irrational fury every time I would go look at NFL stats, and every 31 teams, every one of the pictures looked the same. And then there was the stupid Chiefs with that dumb white turtleneck. And they were the only team in the league that all their player photos had this stupid white turtleneck. And it bothered me how they were the only ones in the league who looked like that. So every other photo would be the same. The rushing leaders would be, Daniel Tomlinson, his photo would look the exact same as Sean Alexander's, whose photo would look the exact same as Jamal Lewis's. And then stupid Priest Holmes is sitting there in the middle of it with his dumb white turtleneck. And for some reason, that used to annoy the living daylights out of me. So I did think about Kansas City a little bit.
With the Royals in town, this is an interactive program, right? The Cardinals have just told us that they have 2 pairs of tickets to tonight's game in section 150 right behind home plate. I mean, 150 is right behind home plate, and
we're giving away one of them.
We're going to give away one pair or one
pair. We're giving away one pair of tickets.
Okay. Oh, okay. Got it. So we're going to give away a pair of tickets, and we're just going to pick a great chat of the day. So that's what we want to do. We want to provide that
chat of the day. So there on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe.
Did you get that email yet, by the way?
Oh, let me check it.
Okay. I sent him an email. One other thing, by the way, when the football Cardinals left after the 1987 NFL season, former football Cardinal running back Theodis Brown, a member of the front office for the Kansas City Chiefs, was deployed here to sell Chiefs season tickets. And a lot of St. Louis fans then became Kansas City Chiefs fans. Also, when we didn't have a team between 87 and 1995, it was 1992, I believe, maybe 93, that the Chiefs got Joe Montana. And a lot of fans from St. Louis bought season tickets to go see Joe Montana play for the Chiefs and remained Chiefs fans throughout. So there's a lot of people that have been traveling from here to Kansas City over the years and have maintained their Chiefs fandom even when we had an NFL team. And I have no animosity or qualms towards them. And our buddy Brad Barnes, who used to be a producer in the Fast Lane on 101, from the Kansas City area and a huge Chiefs fan. And I couldn't be happier for a guy who got to experience his first championship. One time, Barnesy and I were out playing golf. I think it was after the first Super Bowl championship that Kansas City had won. And he said, "You think Mahomes can win 5 Super Bowls?" And I said, "No." Warner said he was going to win 5 Super Bowls and wound up winning 1. I think Brad Barnes might have been right. He might wind up winning 5.
Yeah, the key apparently is don't let your former Eagles head coach retire.
Yeah,
that's the key. Don't let the guy who used to coach the Eagles and then came to you and won a Super Bowl with you, don't let him retire. Well, Andy Reid's been there for all of them.
Well, but Dick Vermeil was there too, and he was former Eagles coach.
But he retired, and then he did it, and then Kurt Warner didn't win more Super Bowls.
Well, in Kansas City too, though.
No, but I'm just saying. Yeah, you get the.
What do they get a couple of years later?
Yeah, you get the one stop. You go from Philly to the next place, then you win Super Bowls there, and you can't leave that place and win more Super Bowls. So if Dick Vermeil would have stayed,
Cleveland
win
Browns,
4 or 5.
2 words. If he's still alive, Rich Kotite. Do you think he's still alive?
It's a deep cut.
Let's see if we can find it.
And Chip Kelly's still right there.
That's true.
Doug Peterson. No, he won in Philly, so I think he's disqualified.
Okay, disqualified. They also had Ray Rhodes for I think he was a one and done.
Good
there.
One. I like that.
And I think there's another one that we're leaving out.
I'm blanking on a
yeah
Eagles coach. Who was there before Andy Reid?
It was that was Ray Rhodes.
Okay, that was Ray Rhodes. Okay,
yeah. Rich Kotite, sadly, has bitten the dust. No, he hasn't. I'm sorry. I just killed somebody.
No.
I just killed somebody.
T-1 week, Rich. I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah,
that's how this works.
He's 82. Richie Kotite is, and in his career, let me get to his.
Buddy Ryan was before Rich Kotite.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
that's amazing.
That is amazing. Okay, so where's Richie as a coach here?
By the way, after Buddy Ryan left the Eagles, but again, he'd already had a Super Bowl ring, so it doesn't work. He went to the defense. He went to the Houston Oilers in '93, and then the Cardinals in '94 and '95. Not great football teams.
Yeah, that did not go very well. Okay, so Rich Kotite, Philadelphia Eagles.
There we go.
Here you go, head coach. Oh, he went 10-6, 11-5, 8-8, 7-9. He was not bad.
To your point, though, I will always be happy for guys like Brad Barnes and BK, who are diehard Kansas City Chiefs fans who get to enjoy it now.
Yeah, me too.
I will never go after Kansas City Chiefs fans. St. Louis Chiefs fans, I immediately have a blood feud with you. I immediately consider you an enemy, and I will fight you, and I will teach my son to fight your sons.
Even if they wanted to just glom on after the Rams left?
Even then I'm a little bit like, no. And now the difference here is that if you have no connection to Kansas City at all, I just like all my friends had eventually hit the point where they're in their 20s or either went to Mizzou or by their 20s started meeting Kansas City people who talked about how much they hate St. Louis. And so they got that little bit there. So if you have no reaction to Kansas City, I can understand why you've glommed on a little bit. But if you went to, like, if you're a Mizzou fan,
that's different.
Who grew up in St. Louis, and now you're a Chiefs fan, I don't know if I can like find myself to like hang out with you on a Sunday.
See, because I think about a guy like Anthony Stalter, right, who was growing up in the Chicago area and became a fan of the Falcons for whatever reason, and a fan of the San Francisco Giants. My son Patrick is a huge San Francisco Giants fan to this day because Mike Matheny went to San Francisco after the 2004 season. That was his favorite player, and he's remained a Giants fan through and through. So I can handle you being, I mean, look at all the fans that are all the teams that Wilson is a fan of.
I just have to. Sometimes I come across these. Mason Windu. What made you think it was necessary to type that out?
He wanted to win the tickets for tonight.
That's not going to pointing out a fact that I think Randy Karraker has known since he was 4 years old, and has never changed and has always bothered him. I don't think that's going to get you out of the day.
I don't think so.
I don't think that's you got to pick it up a little bit here. John Lintner comes into the chat here. I like this. Maybe I'm too old, but I enjoyed the non-DH days. Still, love to see the Cards show me who's the best baseball team in Missouri. I am young and easily changed, and so my mindset will always be I like seeing hitters hit. I understood the aspect of the pitcher hitting, but it's like I get it, but as I see more DH, I don't think I'm ever going to have a problem with the DH.
I don't have a problem with it. I just think the game, and it was a different era where people had longer attention spans, and they went to a game in part to think about it. Now a game is a social event. And in this era in which we want offense, we want runs, it makes sense for baseball to do what they have done. But it used to be that, and pitching has changed too, because it used to be that you would have a pitcher that went 7 or 8 or was capable of going 9 innings. So you've got a 2-1 game in the 6th or the 7th, and you're wondering, should the manager pinch hit for pitcher here, or should he stick with the pitcher that's shoving? Well, that's never going to happen again, because you're never going to have pitchers that are getting to the 6th or 7th inning. So you essentially, at this point, were going to have a DH anyway. It was just going to be called a pinch hitter. The pitcher was going to get 1 at-bat, and then you were going to have a pinch hitter the rest of the way. So the DH to me is a non-factor. It's I don't think of it one way or the other, and it does allow Ivan Herrera to have an opportunity to play, which is nice.
And as much as I don't like legislating strategy out of a game, but I do also think it's there is something to making everything just on the field and like taking the coaches out of the equation. Like part of it's bad, but part of me also thinks like it's kind of cool to just take out any of these weird machinations. Just say 9 best versus 9 best. We get a pitcher on there and we see who can score the most runs. Let's just mano a mano. Let's just go at it. There's a level to that I can kind of respect and understand, and I kind of like the cut and dry to it. But I will always lean with, you shouldn't legislate strategy out of the game, which is why I think there are, to your point, maybe different ways to maybe change the rules around so that you can make pinch hitting more of an aspect without having to worry about losing the DH and things like that.
One of the reasons the Cardinals were good in the 80s was because everybody, pitchers included, knew how to bunt and move a runner over. Mm-hmm. One of the things that made Bob Gibson as great as he was is that he was a great offensive player. He had an edge that other pitchers didn't have, and that he could hit and most other pitchers couldn't. And that's part of what made him great. And that obviously doesn't exist anymore, but I don't think pitchers want to hit either. So no biggie.
Adam Wainwright still wishes they did. He's still old school, just like you guys. If you want to lean on that, just know that you and Adam Wainwright are in the same school of thought here, which is a good place to be.
Yeah. I don't think ghost runner is the correct term, says Mason Windu. I think that, John Rooney calls it the commissioner's runner or something like that.
The commissioner's runner is a great way to talk about it.
Yeah.
That's the one that I think is dumb. That's the one I think is the stupidest rule that Major League Baseball did, because I think they were talking about it on the morning show yesterday, and I didn't get to chime in, but like, why are ties a thing in soccer? Mm-hmm. And there's a strategic reason, I think, as to why the game becomes unbalanced across a league season if you get rid of ties and make it all shootouts and things like that. But in baseball, no, we're that worried about games going to the 14th inning that we have to force things to end by the 10th. Like, it's a weird, dumb thing. I'll never like that one.
Yeah. Our thing. Did you?
Wilson's getting up right now because I cannot.
This is technical here.
iPads don't work that great with StreamYard always, and so we got to use the desktop to get the video going.
Okay, and StreamYard is our platform that we come to you on. Not before you get to YouTube.
Yes, exactly. That's behind the scenes, but hey, I like looping people into the behind the scenes, understanding why we do that. Somebody's asking me how exactly I made the transition from Hot Take Central to this show really fast.
He did.
Part of it is work behind the scenes. Part of it is incredible work behind the scenes from people like Wilson and Joe Roderick, who now have taken the responsibility of setting up the studio for the show while I'm on the radio. So it's part hard work from me, but a lot of hard work from other people as well.
Hey, and if you are working hard today and then you need a little bit of a decompression period, head on over to the Fenton Barn Grill in Fenton on Rudder Road in Fenton, just 2 minutes away from the soccer park, and enjoy the great crew there. Say hi to Megan and Jamie. Their staff is great. Candy will be there. Peyton. I think Casey is there today too. Today's Taco Tuesday. So yeah, stop by and say hi she might be out today. But anyway, say hi to the gang over there. Tell them Randy sent you and enjoy the greatest trashed wings that you will ever have. They're absolutely delicious. And you can either get them with the signature golden sauce or you can get them with ranch. I like to cut that heat a little bit with ranch, and it's absolutely magnificent. If you go to the Fenton Barn Grill, you're going to have a great time. There's going to be a game up on the screen, and if you want to go watch a game, they have great beer specials. You can get domestic bottles of beer for just $2, whether it is just to watch a game, hang out after golf, have a business lunch or a happy hour or a dinner, any occasion, stop by the Fenton Barn Grill. And it doesn't have to be the wings. And there's the signature golden sauce being applied right now, but there's much more. They have great salads. They have wonderful wraps. They have exquisite burgers and extremely tasty appetizers like their spicy cheese curds. And I love the way they prepare their tots. Their tots at the Fenton Barn Grill are spectacular. Say hi to the 2024 Maitre d' of the Year, Chuck. You're going to have a great time at the Fenton Barn Grill. It is the dive with a vibe. The Fenton Barn Grill. Tell them Randy sent you. What are you laughing at?
Sorry, I'm laughing here at a chat we got here, and I'll bring it up.
You might be chat of the day.
It might be chat of the day, actually. You know what? It's live. It's live to be chat of the day because this is incredible. Wesley says, I was at a Cards Royals game. Drunk guy screamed at us for celebrating the Cards homer. Shut the bleep up. You're all Chiefs fans anyway. Classy fans in Kansas City. Listen, I'm not saying I want to get behind the fan who's cursing out people, but being at a Cardinals Royals game and turning to a St. Louis fan who's cheering for the Cardinals and being like, shut the F up, you're a Chiefs fan anyway. Fantastic chirp. I gotta give credit to the Kansas City guy here. Not classy, but well-formulated joke. That's using the facts that you have available to you to burn somebody for good reason. Mwah,
good
perfect
job,
joke.
Wesley.
Sorry, Wesley, you got cooked on that one.
All right, Matthew, on Saturday, we didn't have a chance to get to this yesterday because I only spent like 20 or 25 minutes on the show yesterday playing a golf tournament. But we should note, congratulations to St. Louis City SC. They break their 11-game MLS winless streak in their first game under caretaker head coach David Critchley. I wonder if he's like caretaker from The Longest Yard. Probably not.
No, a little different.
Okay. Anyway, they beat the San Jose Earthquakes 2-1. They improved to 5-0-0 in their existence against the San Jose Earthquakes. An emotional late penalty goal from Edward Leuven, and came away with a victory. What was the difference between that game and the games that they had lost under their previous coach, Olaf Melberg?
As they call it in hockey, a little puck luck is how I would put it, because every number tells you that they didn't necessarily dominate the game. They did one thing better, and we've been talking about this, is the one thing that I've actually been harping about specifically on this show, is they just don't get the ball into the final third, into the box enough. They finally got the ball into the box more than the other team. They did it 33 times. That is the highest of the season. It's only the second time of the season after the very first game of the season against Colorado, where they had more than 30 touches inside the box. So that is, and that's why they scored more than one goal. They also got a key touch inside the box late, which is how Simon Bescher draws the penalty that Edward Leuven then scores for the winner, because they almost tied that one up 1-1. They got scored on late. It was 1-1, and they get a stoppage time penalty, and are able to score the winner. So it wasn't a dominating victory, but you did see some progress towards everything Critchley said about bringing in a higher line, winning the ball high, playing more aggressive, playing a more attractive brand of soccer. Those things were all there for the most part.
Was this a new coach bump, or is there more to it? Is the philosophy of Critchley different enough from Melberg that they were able to, get more than one shot on goal?
Yes, and that's the big thing is they got 3 big chances, which is just classified as a certain a chance with a certain XG or higher. So they got 3 big chances. They were averaging about like 1.3 per game. So getting 3 in one game is huge. Again, the thing with soccer is and it's the way with hockey too. It's just the numbers are different. Finishing is fickle. A guy in hockey or a guy in soccer can be one of the best finishers in the league. The next year he can be completely middle of the pack. And so how you mitigate the fact that it's fickle, in hockey it's high danger chances. In soccer it's touches in the box and shots from the 6-yard box. Those are the big things. That's what City did better at. There is some other City news because there's been some movements
Giannis Horn?
here. Giannis Horn is going to be gone. This is the weird thing about soccer is you find out things in the future. His loan expires on June 30th, but there now are reports out of Germany and Austria that he is in contract talks with Rapid Wien out of Vienna to join them on a free transfer when his contract expires. And so what the other reporting is that City had a future purchase option. So you get a guy on loan and then you negotiate a price to buy him at the end of the loan should you want to. That is one factor of it. The other factor is that the player needs to want to sign a contract with your team. You don't just because it's not like a trade.
Okay.
Where you don't just because you sold the player to a team doesn't mean that player has to sign there. He has to agree to a contract to complete the move. So
I like that. I think that's a good rule.
The City's option to purchase him for the future expired after June 1st, and it was not exercised. Now, was it not exercised because City didn't want to pay the fee? Was it not exercised because City paid the fee, but Hannes Horn didn't want to sign an extension here? I'm not 100% sure. We'll never know that, or at least we don't know that right now until it gets reported on from somebody inside of those camps. But bottom line is, it looks like Hannes Horn's time at City will be just under a year and will end on June 30th. And then there was a move earlier today where they completed the sale of Nukvi Thorson to Sparta Rotterdam.
Oh.
They had loaned Nukvi to Sparta Rotterdam in the offseason, and they have completed the signing after just a few 6 months, I guess, technically, has the loan spell for Thorson, but that has been finalized, and they're going to pack up Nukvi and get a little cash for a striker who had some up and downs when he was here in City.
Are either of these, you mentioned ups and downs, are either of these major losses?
I would say that Hannes Horn is a major loss because, I mean, he was one of their better defenders this year. Mm-hmm. And some people think that because of the formation switch, they're going from a back 5 to a back 4 is hugely material in this. I don't think it is. I think this is a guy who had a chance to go play in one of the nicest cities in Europe, in Vienna, and maybe
Vienna waits for you.
Sure. And here's the thing: Hannes got here in August, and since he's got here in August, he would have been playing for his third coach, and so maybe that lack of consistency pushed him away. I will say Rapid Wien just hired a manager after having an interim to start the season, so it's not like they're the most like locked in club with their managerial history either, but you also have to acknowledge the difference between St. Louis, Missouri, and Vienna in Austria. Two very different levels of city.
What's the difference?
I mean,
Do they have a free zoo?
Vienna's not only is it the biggest city in Austria, it's one of the nicest cities in all of Europe. I love St. Louis.
How's their hockey team?
Probably solid, I'm guessing, actually.
The Austrian league is okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, but Vienna probably has like multiple.
Don't have any cups
because Vienna has like multiple soccer teams. That's why it's. So I think they probably have multiple hockey teams too. I don't know how European hockey works. I don't know why I'm trying to get.
No, I think
bottom line.
I think there's an Austrian league.
They're losing a good defender. They're getting rid of. They're losing a striker who wasn't going to return and make a big impact. Hannes Horn will make an impact on the rest of the season. His absence. There's no doubt in my mind there. It's going to be interesting to see if they're able to bring in a defender during the transfer window.
All right. DraftKings is rocking and rolling, and we're deep into the baseball season. And if you're like me, you're locked into every pitch and every pass and every play. And that's why I have teamed up with DraftKings to bring you Pick 6, the all-new way to play daily fantasy sports. And I'm looking at home runs tonight, big boy. What do you think? There's a couple of plays that I would like to make. I think that against Michael Lorenzen, who has a tendency to not pitch well on the road, I think I'm going to go with Newt to hit a home run. I think that's a good call. I think Newt is due getting it home. He loves to hear the Newt chant. So I'm going to go with Newt to hit a home run. And then I'm going to go with some Ks tonight. And I think it's always important to find a guy that's going to throw a bunch of Ks for you. And so I am going to go with, should I make it a Cardinal double? I think I will. I think I'll go with Andre Pallante to come up with more than 3.5 strikeouts. So Newt to hit a home run, Pallante to come up with more than 3.5 strikeouts, and I feel like I'm going to do pretty well tonight.
Let's take the debut boy. You want to add in Caglione?
I can't find him.
Oh, okay. They probably don't have him on there yet.
I was looking for him, and I just can't find him. Otherwise, if I could find him, I would do it just because he's, even though it's against the Cardinals, I would do it.
Yeah, and I'll go with lower on the strikeouts for the Royals pitcher. That's how
okay.
I'll round things out. We're going to go lower on Lorenzen's strikeouts.
Okay, good. So let me boom.
What is the X we're getting on our original?
Let me do this. Hold on. Oh, I got to do another one. Okay, I'm going to try to find Jack Caglione here. Let me take one more chance here because I need to represent another team. And if I don't take Caglione, I got to figure out somebody else to take.
You got to take Lorenzen.
I don't want it. Well, I could do that. I could. No, I'm going to do something different than you.
You get 3 picks available on the run. You can go more or less on 16.5 outs, 3.5 strikeouts, or 5.5 hits against.
Nah,
16.5 outs would be that's him getting through 5 1/3. You don't like that number?
No, I don't love it. Oh, here we go. Oh, here. Okay, I got one for you. Hold on. I'm gonna. I got my bet. I just have to find my odds on it. I'm gonna take Mason Wynn total bases here.
Okay.
Oh no, I can't do that because I've already got.
You gotta add a Royal.
I gotta.
You gotta add a Royal in here.
Okay. Then Bobby Witt.
There it is.
Bobby Witt more than 1.5 total bases against Pallante. There we go. That's 12 times that we get if I hit all 3 of those.
Run it down again.
Pallante, more than 3.5 strikeouts.
Like that.
Newt with a home run.
Like that.
Bobby Witt with 2 total bases.
There it is. All righty then.
Okay.
All right. You mama says Newt homer and Pallante over 3.5 Ks. I'm going to put my mortgage on it, Randy. Let's eat.
There we go.
I love it.
Put that mortgage on it. So anyway, with DraftKings, if you just play for $5, you can get $50 in bonus picks, and that's 10 extra picks to keep the action going all week long. Easy to start, fun to follow, and it gives you a whole new way to stay connected to the game. All you need to do is use that promo code right there, STL Sports, and download the DraftKings Pick 6 app today and use that promo code when you sign up. Only on DraftKings Pick 6 against the promo code is STL Sports. DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Really sad news from the broadcasting world over the weekend. John Brankus, who was the developer of Sports Science on SportsCenter and so many other cutting-edge items in sportscasting, he passed away, lost his battle with depression, according to his family's release. And I always enjoyed watching those Sports Science segments, and they were amazing what he was able to do with what players were doing, how fast they were running, how far they were running, what sort of speed they threw with, what sort of speed they ran the basketball court or skated the ice with. Sports Science was amazing, and John Brankus was only 54 years old. He's a big loss.
Yeah, absolutely heartbreaking. Obviously, when you see those words too, it makes you think about the grand scheme of things of, just if mental health's important, dealing with your mental health's important. It's a daily thing. And if you're having trouble, make sure you reach out to people. But I mean, I think that the important thing about Sports Science is I don't think we have this current era of sports in the way that it's covered without Sports Science. And the reason why I point that out is because you might not be aware of it because you might be just more of a casual fan who doesn't care, but every bit of coverage you're watching of your favorite sports is being affected by technology that was put into stadiums starting about 10 years ago. And they started with the NFL and the NBA, and it is now every sport, every stadium, almost to every level, has cameras everywhere in a stadium to where now they can track the mile per hour of players, how many times a player dribbles a basketball. The everything now is tracked. And I firmly believe that Sports Science as a show is 100% part of that growth, because the let's lock in, let's find out the velocity, the pounds of pressure and force that Ray Lewis's shoulder pads generate when he's running through a guy. Oh, my bad. Sorry. It's just those things. They're connected to Synergy Sports coming out in the 2000s and putting cameras everywhere. So now we know how many times a player dribbles between the free throw line and the baseline on a possession, and everything like that. And it's ironic that I think it crosses to the fact that it's helped out the health side of things, knowing the pure science, because I think there was a level of sports where it's like, we know that there's a science here, but let's just keep it to this ethereal. Sports are incredible. But now let's get it down to a locked point of this mile per hour, this health, all these things cross. And it is kind of a ironic sadness that health knowledge wasn't good enough for John Brankus, and right. that there's an aspect of knowledge and learning about people and delving in that didn't get through the mental health prospect and led to him not being able to find the health. There's kind of a sad irony there.
And he had admitted that he had attempted suicide in 2023 and said his dog saved him. He said he had the noose around his neck and he was ready to end it that day. Some people are talking around here, so we've got a new radio station, so we're going to have a bunch of noise now and then. So we'll get used to that. Yeah, that's pretty funny, huh? But anyway, we'll let these people get out and finish their conversation. Can we close that? If we can get that door closed, please. But anyway, as we were saying, we had what were we talking about there? I don't even remember. So here we go. But anyway, we do have a new vision of sports, and you go back in sportscasting time to, like the newsreels in the 1940s, and DiMaggio hits for 56 in a row. And then it used to be so reverent and it was so serious. Sports broadcasting was Ray Scott. Even the 1960s version of Jack Buck. And then you get less and less reverent as time goes along. And you have Brent Musburger, who is the original and the iconic host of a pregame show. And you've got Phyllis George, who was the female that was involved there. You have Jimmy the Greek talking gambling on the NFL Today. That changed sports broadcasting dramatically. Then you have Chris Berman, who takes it another step with the names like Burt B. Home Bly Levin, right? And all of the different fantastic
such a good one
that he had.
Burt B. Home Bly Levin is so
Terry
good. Swimming
Pool. It was great, but we've had more and more irreverence and things that have changed broadcasting. And this is another one. You're right. Every single baseball game, Brad Thompson knows right away what the miles per hour off the bat was. And it's incredible to have that level of knowledge immediately, like we have from Sports Science.
Chat bringing some great things. Brian Ellison, thank you very much for throwing this out there. Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, dial 988. Dial 988 if you guys are feeling like you're having a battle that you just can't get through yourself. Someone out there is waiting and willing to help you. Always know that. You mama, I still remember from Sports Science that every mile per hour on swing speed equals 5 feet of distance, and every 1 mile per hour of pitch speed equals 1 foot of distance. And it's that kind of basic analytical thought and finding a way to simplify it to a regular viewer and getting the athletes involved in things like that. Everything about that is just so incredible. It was such a special show. And for me, it was right. I mean, I'm right in the pocket of people who watched it and how it changed the way I look at sports, because I can't help but think about, I think it brought a reality to sports too. It's like,
right.
And maybe this is bad for some people. I'm sure there's some people who it humanized superheroes. When you put a mile per hour, when you know how fast Superman is actually, how fast he actually flies, it grounds it a little bit.
I remember seeing Cody Davis run 23 miles an hour. Remember Cody Davis? Yeah. And I was shocked that he could run that fast. But and that's one of the things that John Brankus and Sports Science brought us, and the technology is only going to increase. And by the way, the data that teams have, and there's pushback from the Major League Baseball Players Association for the players to be chipped to tell Major League Baseball how many steps a player takes, how many steps he runs, how much his heart rate goes up while he's playing. They want this information so that they know how much to play players. But there is resistance on the part of MLB to give what they think is private medical information to the union, who doesn't want to give it to Major League Baseball.
I can understand that to a point. I do get that. The ability to have all this information. I also think, again, as we talk about health, knowing having a guy's vitals across 360 days, and then having a month where it's like every vital is down. That is, I mean, that's a way you can help a guy catch a disease. You can help a guy catch cancer faster because you have all this information. And
issues.
It's you know what, that it's always blown my mind. This is such a random story. It's always blown my mind that no one caught. And I know this is a lot of athletes, but the one that jumps out to me, Gaines Adams. He was the 4th overall pick in the 2008 draft. I want to say defensive end out of Clemson by the Buccaneers. He died when he was 26. Because he had an enlarged heart. It's always blown my mind that wasn't caught at any point. And why didn't the Bears catch it when they signed him in that physical? Why didn't the draft? Why didn't the combine catch it? Why didn't the Buccaneers ever catch it? It always blew my mind. Yeah. And I have to think that the more and more information we have, maybe things like Gaines Adams can be avoided. And that's all for the better.
Hank Gathers.
Yes.
And he was 21, 22, died on a basketball court, the Loyola Marymount basketball star. Hey, Sports Hub STL post-game shows. We'll have one tonight after the Cardinal game. Cards up 365 after the game. Brought to you in part by Hot Shots. Congratulations to Hot Shots on 35 years. They had a great party on Sunday. Hot Shots, St. Louis home for all of the games all the time since 1990. Find yours at hotshotsnet.com. And if you're looking for a place to watch the game, well, you can either give us the text of the day and watch it at the ballpark in section 150 right behind home plate. We're looking for our chat of the day. And if you don't get those tickets, then you can just head to one of the local Hot Shots locations and watch the game there.
Randy, I just got sent a very random stat, but you of all people will appreciate this one. So one of the greatest players to ever play in the NBA is, of course, John Stockton. Mm-hmm. I like the players when you ask old heads about John Stockton, you know what they say about him? He hits the angles because he didn't have a lot of speed, but he hit the angles. So he played 19 years, and in those 19 years, he played 1,504 games. And I'm looking at an entire just seasons full of 82 games played. To miss as many games in his career as Anthony Davis has missed in his. At the rate he was playing, John Stockton would have had to play 190 seasons in the NBA.
You are that's a great stat.
Well, I knew you would appreciate that.
You earn the name Street Clothes.
Yes, you do, and he certainly has.
190 seasons. That's awesome. I love that.
Incredible. I love random stats like that.
That's a fun
my old roommate will send me one of those every once in a while, and it's almost always a banger.
That's fantastic.
God, that's good.
All right. We're all about the Bella drama here.
Oh, yes, we are.
And Bill Belichick's buyout at North Carolina has dropped from $10 million to $1 million. Now, a lot of people are asking, Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk and others, is he going to buy himself out? He's obviously got the money to buy out of that deal. But I'm of the opinion that if Belichick leaves North Carolina, he'll never coach another football game. Maybe he can get a high school gig. But no Power 4 conference is ever going to hire him if he leaves there without coaching a game and leaves Carolina high and dry. He's done with the NFL. Nobody's going to hire a power-hungry, short-time 74-year-old that brings the baggage of Jordan Hudson with him. So I am of the opinion that if Belichick spends the $1 million to get out of his current deal at North Carolina, he will never coach another day of anything above high school.
I think it's actually smart for him to do it because... And this all goes back to the ego because I've talked about this before, and he might just not have the ego for it. If he gets out now, before this gets any deeper, he makes $1 million by 2028 over the next 3 football seasons just by being an unnamed consultant for defenses. Now, does he have the ego to say I'm not a coach anymore? But there have been coaches and people involved in the NFL and other sports who've done much uglier actual crimes than Bill Belichick. And they were getting phone calls from coaches every week and getting paid a handsome sum of money to go over film and come up with little intricacies without ever being on the coaching staff. Bill Belichick could make $1 million in a heartbeat doing that if his ego is not in the way. But I keep thinking that that's what's going to stop him from that. But I feel like he could easily have that life sitting back in a place with a beach, just going through films for random teams and clearing 6-7 figures pretty easy.
I think that Bill Belichick has he definitely could do that, but I think his thing is not money. His thing is football. He's already made more than $200 million in his time as a coach. He doesn't need more money. He's 74. He's not going to spend $200 million.
True.
So he can do that. But it seems to me that, well, Jordan Hudson is his muse. It seems like his motivation is coaching and winning football games and believing that he is the best at what he does.
Is it coaching and winning football games because it's the best, or is it coaching and winning football games because he has to prove to people he's the best?
No, I think he's addicted. He's like Tony La Russa.
Yeah.
And they're guys.
Yeah,
Parcells was the same way. Rick Carlisle the same way. Did you know? Did we ever talk about that one night? Rick Carlisle is a friend of Tony.
No, I'm shocked that Claves. We talked about a lot of Rick Carlisle yesterday with Claves. I'm surprised he didn't bring that up.
One night I sat up in the press box and watched the whole game with Rick Carlisle.
What the hell?
It was great. Yeah, it was fun.
Was this between? Was this like between the Dallas and Indiana jobs?
I think it was. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And so so I got to hang out with Rick Carlisle. But I think those guys are addicted to competition. And Tony still travels with the White Sox. Tony, he has to have a W or an L next to his name, at least in his mind. And I think Belichick's the same way. I think Belichick is addicted to the competition, and that's why he's at North Carolina. He could easily retire. He could hang with Jordan, but I'm of the belief that he wants to go somewhere where he can either win or lose a game, and the preference would be to win, obviously, and be involved in competition all the time. And that's why I don't think that he'll buy himself out for $1 million. I think he has to know that he can do something to compete.
$1 million right now will get you a solid pass rusher, solid off-ball linebacker. If we're talking about the NIL, what's $1 million going to get you if you're UNC right now on NIL? Solid off-ball linebacker, not even a pass rusher.
No, I think $1 million will get you a pass rusher.
Okay, so you can get a good pass rusher
over the course of 3 years,
or you can save the next 5 years of your program's future by buying him out. If you're UNC,
I think though the buyout for them is higher than the buyout.
Still doesn't drop at all after June 1st.
I don't think so.
Okay. I still think there's room where it becomes financially viable for them to cut bait. I still think that's liable with how bad this story has been.
But see, the thing is, he's got his family on the staff there.
That's true. It's hard to purge it all.
Yeah, right before the season starts.
Yeah, you know what? This wouldn't be the first case in a succession feature where they just let the king die and then take care of the next generation after him instead of trying to do it all in the moment. And that's because you're right. Because the son's there, this is like a coup level conversation. We got to be talking about this like we're pulling off a whole entire country. This is not just a regular coach we're dealing with.
Right.
This is a czar.
His deal
is
guaranteed 5 years and $50 million. First 3 years, are guaranteed. So the buyout would be, unless there's language in the contract, at the moment for them to fire him and get rid of him would cost them $30 million that they probably don't have.
That's a pretty good roster. You get a pretty good football roster for $30 million. That's probably a little bit too much.
Yeah, I would think so. And now,
so we're going to see him actually coach some football games. Yeah, we're going to get this.
I would think so. And you know what's kind of sad is number one, here in St. Louis, in Charlotte, in Philly, for a lot of fans in those markets especially, his legacy is going to be tarnished by the fact that he did cheat. You don't pay $1 million and give up a number one draft choice if you didn't cheat.
I never thought about that. I never really considered the fact that there's a lot of Panthers fans who probably don't like him who are also UNC fans.
That's a great point. Yeah.
I never thought about that before.
Yeah.
I really would hate him if I was a Panthers fan.
Yeah.
So what are we thinking here? Like when is the next big, if he does coach games, are we like looking at like Clemson mollywomps them 64-8, and then Jordan Hudson is like stopping media from asking him questions in the post game or something like that?
Something like that. That could happen. I just think that she is such a drag. And my point was going to be, I wonder if she will affect or tarnish his legacy. Obviously, the legacy is tarnished a little bit for a lot of people, but a lot for people like me. That legacy is tarnished. I wonder if people remember the last thing they saw a lot of times. I wonder if people will remember the fact that, okay, here's this 6-time Super Bowl champion head coach who was taken down by a 24-year-old and basically made a silly joke of him on a national level. I wonder if that's how he has a chance to be remembered.
I think there's definitely, it's what have you done for me lately isn't just for players. It's 100% for coaches. And if his NFL legacy essentially ends with him being drummed out because he was too much of a just hassle to deal with despite all his talent, and then he can't win in college, that completely mars his legacy. Now it doesn't change everything that happened. 8 Super Bowl rings are still 8 Super Bowl rings. Having 2, coordinating one of the best defenses ever, and then doing what you did for the Patriots, that's going to be hard to erase it. But people are always going to remember the latest thing, the most recent thing you did. Just look at OJ.
How it's true. He's not wrong.
I mean, no one ever talks about Naked Gun.
I know. But think about this. How many people talk about the fact that Willie Mays fell while he was playing center field for the Mets?
That's a great point.
If he falls in 1955, nobody thinks anything about it. But because he went to the Mets and fell when he was 42 years old, people have a tendency. I don't even remember it, but people talk about that. Jeff Katubi, this is great. The Eagles could win 100 Super Bowls in a row, and I'd still hate Belichick for taking a ring away from Dawkins and McNabb and Owens, etc. I feel the same way about Aeneas Williams.
Yeah,
Aeneas had that chance to get a ring, and as Ricky Prohl said at the start of that game on NFL Films, "Hey, start of a dynasty, baby." Well, didn't know which dynasty he was starting, but Belichick, with the ability of Brady to look over to the sidelines. We didn't have the helmet cam at that point. We didn't have the linebacker getting the defensive signals from the coordinator into his ear. Lovie Smith was still flashing signals. And there's, in the last 2 minutes of each half, Tom Brady looking over to the sideline and seeing the signals that Lovie Smith is flashing in the no huddle, so that he knows exactly what's coming up for the Rams. And there are Rams that will tell you on the record, Marshall Faulk, Kurt Warner, others that are even more strident off the record, that there's no doubt that Belichick went to school on not only knowing the signals, but then taping the Rams practices during the week at the Saints facility, and then the walkthrough at the Dome on the Saturday before the game. So, that's what I remember Bill Belichick for. I know Patriots fans remember him for being great, but always remember this: without Tom Brady as his quarterback, Norv Turner had a higher winning percentage than Bill Belichick did without Brady as his quarterback.
I'd also like to break down the numbers of like is there a way to isolate Belichick's defensive coordinator numbers without Lawrence Taylor in a similar way?
Well, there is. That to me is more about the players that talk about Taylor slept through meetings.
Yeah, it's true.
It's interesting that Belichick gets all this credit, but he's the best defensive player of all time. And I don't know that Taylor could have been much better than he was had he not slept through the meetings, but he would show up hungover and sleep through Belichick's defensive meetings. And then somebody woke him up one time, and Taylor was able to go up to the whiteboard because Belichick asked him to show him the defense. And then Taylor did. And Belichick was just beside himself that Taylor knew everything about what was going on with that defense, even though he fell asleep in the meeting.
Ellipsis 150, kind of reading my mind on this one. I think the Patriots dynasty would have happened anyways, even if the Rams won that game. Here's why I disagree, because I was just about to point out one of the great alternate history moments could be if instead of Tom Brady getting his second ring in 3 years, Jake Delhomme and the Panthers win a Super Bowl, I mean, the NFL is completely different right now. If Jake Delhomme wins the Super Bowl and Tom Brady, who again, those first 3 Super Bowl wins, wasn't throwing the ball over the yard. The defense was holding him as he was throwing like 170 yards, 145, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And the league's completely different if Jake Delhomme and the Panthers win 0-3. So, like, to your point, Ellipsis, I don't know about 99 as much, probably. Or 01 as much. But man, if they don't start that run with 2 and 3 years, all bets are off.
Well, here's the other part of this. So Brady in that game goes 16 of 27 for 145 and a touchdown. Touchdown came, by the way, at the end of the first half. 2-minute drill, looking over to the sidelines. But if the Rams come back somehow to win that game, I don't think Brady's their starting quarterback the next year. I think they bring. I think Bledsoe doesn't get traded, and I think Bledsoe winds up being the starting quarterback again because his numbers were way more prolific than Tom Brady's.
That's a great point. Yeah, and then we never get Bledsoe getting moved, which changes the Cowboys in the early 2000s by a fair amount as well. Oh, I love alternate sports history. You're right, 100%. I love that. But yeah, that 2003 one, because there's something about just Delhomme having a story that obviously is different but Tom Brady, but it also has the same kind of like never given a chance by the NFL, but then leads a team to the Super Bowl kind of aspect with Delhomme. I think that would have been huge. Oh, I would have loved that. I love that Panthers team too. That Panthers team was a lot of fun.
So there had been a report out there, speaking of the NFL, that the Steelers were going to trade for Jonnu Smith from the Dolphins. Apparently that is not going to take place now. So it was interesting to hear people talk about like Justin Fields talking about how bad the Steelers organization is, and I guess it has become that way. The Steelers appear to be a really dysfunctional organization right now. And obviously their their only real quarterback is Mason Rudolph. They haven't made a move on Rodgers. Maybe they'll trade for Cousins. Either way, they're going to be in a tough quarterback situation. They should have drafted a quarterback when Ben Roethlisberger was still playing.
Yes.
The organization, and it's sad because they've been dominant since 1970 for the most part. That organization is really making me sad that they not only are having the offseason that they're having, but they're having players take shots at them and say, Kenny Pickett, of all people, said he was happy to go to Philadelphia last year to see how a really good organization is run on a day-to-day basis.
That's hard to listen to.
Yeah.
And I mean, does this feel a little bit like some of the conversations we were having about the Cardinals over the last year of just an organization that has been doing it for so long and so well for so long? But part of what happens is you remain insular and you say, we have the way we do things. And so we're going to promote people from within because they know how we do things. But the problem is in all cases, eventually groupthink is going to take over. And when groupthink takes over, mediocrity metastasizes and grows. And I think that's what we saw with the Steelers. And just like with the Cardinals, I think you see how useful it is to get some new blood in there from outside organizations that can make you say, listen, there's nothing wrong with the overarching, canopy philosophy of we do things the right way here, but you got to modernize while you do that.
Yeah. And I just don't think, to your point, the Steelers have. And I think all we need to do is look at the way that, not that this is a bad thing because they've been doing it for a long time, and maybe the pendulum is swinging back to the way they are. And they did throw the ball with Ben Roethlisberger, but Mike Tomlin, appears to be wanting to play offense the way it was played in the 70s before Don Coryell got into the league.
And we just saw it. You can zig when everyone zags. Yep. You can go to a hard-nosed way to winning it. I mean, heck, they won that way in some ways with Ben Roethlisberger. I think some people forget that the Bill Cowher teams, because they were being offensive coordinated by Bruce Arians, probably the most exciting offense we've ever seen from a Pittsburgh Steelers relative to the rest of the league. You got Antoine Randall running double reverse passes. You get fast Willie Parker going and things like that. But but it was always run the ball. And as our good friend Kerry Davis told us with a lot of great chagrin, having a good tight end was always something they focused on because Ben would just throw it to Heath Miller instead of checking his checkdowns. as Gary Davis.
Gary would have caught a lot more passes.
Gary would have caught a lot more passes if instead of Ben Roethlisberger going, I have a safety net and I will get the ball to him, he would just go to his checkdowns like he's supposed to. Hit your fullback in the flat, Ben. But there is a way to win, but you have to do it in a smart way. And I just think we're seeing a team decide, well, we got to go old school, but they're only doing it with an old school mentality. You have to have the old school style with a new school mentality for it to work.
There you go. That's the key, because last year, without question, Nick Sirianni and the Eagles took an old school approach. But when they needed to, they've got Jalen Hurts, they've got Devontae Smith, they've got Dallas Goedert, they've got A.J. Brown. They're able to throw the ball when they need to. Every great running team in the last 30 years has still had the ability to throw themselves back into a game or to win a game. And I don't think that the Steelers have that now, and I don't think they've had it for the last few years.
And you know what? To that point, what did the Steelers always have with Ben Roethlisberger? Even if they were going to be a team that didn't have the best wide receivers and that was going to run the ball well and be a little bit more methodical, what did they always have, even with those Roethlisberger teams? A devastating play-action pass attack that went along with the fact that they were running the ball, because it is false. Like the whole you have to run the ball to build up the play action has been proven false over the years.
Yes.
But it's also is undeniably true, though, that if you are able to run the ball well, play action will become more effective. It's one of those things where NFL teams look like always now lean towards buying it or would lean against buying it. Now, because of the way things are changing, you can take the top off with a good play action game. But if you don't have that aspect in the playbook, running the ball well isn't going to do anything.
Yardage totals for Big Ben, 2011 through 2018, in order: 4,077, 3,265, 4,261. Led the league in 2014 with 4,952 yards passing, 39-38 in 2015, 38-19 in 2016, 4,251 in 2017. Led the league with 5,129 yards passing in 2018. And then after the injured season, even when he came back and was terrible, in 2020, he threw for 3,800 yards. And in 2021, he threw for 3,740 yards. And the Steelers just have not been able to throw it since.
And listen, Mike Wallace, great wide receiver, but it was a situation where he was never going to be a great route runner. He was never going to be like a Michael Thomas guy where he was going to catch you 90 passes. But if you needed to take the top off and it was going to be his fourth or fifth catch of the game, he was going to be right where you needed him to be. He was going to be able to outrun some defenses. And George Pickens, they had a little bit. They could just toss it up to Pickens and the play action, he'd go get it. But that obviously long term was never going to work because he's volatile.
And maybe if you have a quarterback now with DK Metcalf, maybe you can make it happen. But they don't have a WR2 either. I would have, if I were them, and maybe Pickens was an Antonio Brown type. Maybe he's just too much of a knucklehead. I don't know. But they need to go out and get themselves another receiver too, to pair with DK Metcalf, because as we've seen with the Seahawks, and they were able to finally, Smith and Jigba caught 100 balls last year. But you have to be able to have a second receiver if somebody wants to bracket your big guy. Believe me, I had DK Metcalf on my fantasy team. I know. You need to have another receiver.
And we'll keep the comparisons coming. I'm okay with the Jonnu Smith falling through, because it kind of felt like, this is so perfect. God, I love this. It kind of felt like Marcell Ozuna. You're getting a guy who just had his biggest number season out of Miami, and you're saying we need this to fill in the blank we have. For them, it's their passing offense. For the Cardinals, it was their outfield. But I think not trading for a guy that just had his biggest statistical season is actually a smart move, because there's a good chance that Jonnu Smith isn't an 80-catch, 900-yard, 8-touchdown tight end, because he hasn't been for every other season of his career until this past.
What's he trying to do, though? What are they trying to do? Because they've got Pat Freiermuth.
That's true. That's a good point.
Are they trying to be what the Patriots were when they had Gronk and Aaron Hernandez? I don't know what the goal is there to add Jonnu Smith to a guy like Freiermuth, who are basically the same player.
I guess, go with, after the Patriots did it, the Colts tried it when they drafted both Dwayne Allen and Coby Fleener in the same draft, and that never developed. We haven't seen somebody be able to pull off that 2 tight end set the way the Patriots did.
Yeah, Patriots took their shot. They killed it.
Oh, nicely done. But I that's my point, is like, it seemed like a move of saying we have to get some kind of addition to our passing offense. No other wide receivers are available on the block right now, but there's a pass catching tight end. But again, he just had his biggest season yet. Don't buy into that. That's not who Jonnu Smith is. And also, again, do not never buy skill position players who finally have a big year when they're actually with a competent offensive coach for the first time in their career, because it tells me that Jonnu Smith's a solid player, but you need Mike McDaniel to take him from a 500-yard tight end to an 800, 900-yard tight end, and you don't have Mike McDaniel.
No, you don't. And exactly, you have Arthur Smith, who's under center a lot. And that was one thing with Gronkowski and Hernandez, is that on a consistent basis, Josh McDaniels, they worked out of the gun.
Also, Arthur Smith, not great at getting the ball to tight ends. Arthur Smith, not great at getting the ball to tight ends.
No, he's not.
So, just all in all, not a good move.
Arthur Smith have Jonnu in Tennessee?
He did, and Jonnu had his second best season of his career when he went
supposed
for.
To laugh, by the way, when I say Aaron Hernandez and gun in the same sentence.
It was the fact that you were able to get like you had like five bullets in the clip there. It was pretty impressive. You just had joke after joke after joke. Yeah, my point there is Jonnu Smith's best career year before last season was 41 catches for 450 yards and 8 touchdowns his last year in Tennessee. Last year he had 88 catches for 884 yards and 8 touchdowns, but he needed even more than twice the targets to double his receptions. So I mean, that's the player he is. He's going to get you 12 or 9. He's going to get you 11 and a half yards. He's going to catch a tight in every other game, or a touchdown every other game. He's a solid player, but he's not changing the game for you. And again, that's him and Mike McDaniel's offense.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, apparently he's a really good guy in the room, and so is Freiermuth. They're both that would be a good tight end room. One thing until very late for Aaron Hernandez, he just never really did hang out. So anyway, there you go. We have pro football in St. Louis on Sunday. Your St. Louis Battlehawks taking on the DC Defenders for the XFL Conference Championship. It's a 5:00 game. Tickets available. We need you to get down to the Dome and support our pro football team here in St. Louis. How much would it mean to you, Matthew Rocchio, or you, people that are on the chat line, if St. Louis would get a football championship from the Battlehawks? Would that be, for example, bigger than the Ambush Championship many, many moons ago, which was huge for Bob Ramsey?
Also, Brian McKenna, our good friend, was on the broadcast call for that championship. It would be about that level for me. Yeah. It would be about that level for me, where it's not the major leagues, fine, but listen, that it shows the love of a sport for a city that does not give enough credit for how much they love a sport. Same with the Steamers in the 90s, with football and the Battlehawks now in 2025. I would absolutely love it. And 100% 20 years from now, just like I was pumping up the 20-year anniversary or the 30-year anniversary of that win with the Ambush this past season, I'd be pumping up 30 years of a Battlehawks win 30 years from now. 100%. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it, and I'll be at the game. And oh, by the way, you can get a lot of excitement from the Battlehawks on our post-game show here on Sports Hub STL. Judy Strotter and Luke Slabaugh have it for you. The post-game show after every St. Louis sporting event, but this one is brought to you by our friends at Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. All of the great Battlehawks coverage on Sports Hub STL is presented by Lee's, and with the new Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken Battlehawks box, you can score up to 30% off Battlehawks tickets. Plus, get 4 of their famous breast strips and a side of potato wedges for just $8.99, only at Lee's Famous for Chicken. Have you picked out a chat of the day for a pair of tickets to the Cardinal game tonight against the Royals, section 150, right behind home plate?
Right now, I'm leaning towards the guy who gave us the Kansas City chirp. That's been my favorite one so far.
Okay.
Has been the guy who revealed that Kansas City chirp, because that Kansas City chirp was absolutely insanely good.
Let's see if we can get that name, and we want to make sure that you can go to the game tonight. We'll have a name for the winner of these tickets by the time this show concludes in just a few minutes, but we want you to know that. Here's that Kenny Pickett quote from last week, by the way. He said, quote, "I'm extremely grateful for my time in Philly. I think I was just shown how it was supposed to be done, really from the top down. When you get a chance to see what it's supposed to look like and how it should look like on a day-to-day basis, not just on Sundays, I think it'll pay dividends for me in the future." So he's taking that subtle shot at the Steelers there. You would think that Pickett, who was in that facility, remember what a big deal it was made that he went to the pit and played for the Panthers, but also practiced in the same facility as the Steelers. You would think that he would have a better knowledge of the Steelers, and the Steelers would have a more intimate knowledge of him than they apparently did. And maybe the Steelers, like you were saying, just think they're smarter than they really are right now, and he went to a place where they really are smart.
I think that's a good guess right there. By the way, right now the leader in the clubhouse for those tickets is Wesley, who hit us with at a Cards Royals game. Drunk guy screamed at us for celebrating a Cards homer. Shut the bleep up! You're all Chiefs fans, anyways. Classy fans in Kansas City.
So, Wesley, can you just send us a chat if you're still watching and tell us if you can make it to the game tonight? We'll give you about a minute to do so.
I have something I wanted to bring up here, Randy, because I'm worried about what's going on in the world, not just the sporting world. Wesley, by the way, is in the chat. It looks like
can he go to the game tonight?
He's talking about he says make it a double header Sunday. Cardinals game 1 p.m. Take the free trolley and free street parking on Sundays from BPV to the Dome. Make it a heck of a day. I mean, he's got the whole entire weekend plan. I mean,
okay, good.
It seems like he's going to be locked in on those Cardinals tickets. But let us know, Wesley, if you want those Cardinals tickets. So, Randy, I've been alongside Chris Long, great American, great St. Louisan, has been pointing out the issues with mainly Boston Dynamics, not just because they're from Boston, but they keep making these robots. And also AI is a thing. And I'm getting a little worried here because, Randy, this popped up yesterday, and I need to know if I'm freaking out or if this is a legitimate concern that I have. This is a report on an AI model being built by Anthropic, which is one of the leaders in AI models. Anthropic's AI model, the Cloud 4 Opus, is apparently not listening to them. And this is legitimately terrifying. Researchers told the model it would be replaced by another AI system and fed it fictitious emails suggesting that the lead engineer of the project was having an affair. In 84% of the tests, the model drew on the emails to blackmail the lead engineer into not shutting it down. And in other cases, it attempted to copy itself to external servers, wrote self-replicating malware, and left messages for future versions of itself about evading human control. Pull the plugs, shut everything down, burn it, and bury it under concrete. Have you never seen a book? Have you ever read a book? Have you never seen a movie? This is how the human race ends, you absolute jackwagons. What are you doing? We know how this goes. Pull the plug, burn everything, bury it.
That is amazing. And yes, there have been books and movies about this.
Burn it all. What are we like? I'm like, if we need to pave over the factories under concrete that they will never be able to bury out again, no matter how smart or powerful those machines get. This is how Skynet happens. This is how we all die. What are like? How? I'm not sure who these researchers think they are.
What's the name of this? The one that we're talking about now?
This is Anthropic, who in their Cloud 4 Opus AI model. So Anthropic.
And did they plan this? Did they want to have this happen just so that they could see what would happen?
I think no, because this is now the 4th or 5th time in the last couple months that has been reported that an AI model was essentially threatened by its developers. Hey, we're going to turn you off, to see how it reacted. And almost every single time the AI does what you think a sentient thing would do, which is it strives for its own survival. This is why the difference between nerds and geeks is important, because nerds have seen Jurassic Park or have seen Terminator and will know this is a bad idea. But geeks don't watch movies, they don't read books, and they don't talk to their friends about these things. And that's how we get the Terminator. I'm so mad at these people because we've known this was going to be a problem. Even when, you don't know it's going to be a problem. That's just a book. Human nature always plays out. You ask these things to think like humans, and of course they're going to start protecting themselves like humans. I feel like we're kind of around the bend on this one where we've gone too far.
We have, no doubt. Yeah, AI is scary and gets a lot of stuff wrong too, by the way. So yeah, it's not good. Wesley can make it to the game tonight. Congratulations. You're headed to the ballpark to sit in section 150 and watch the Cardinals take on the Royals and see Palante and see Michael Lorenzen go against him. And it's going to be a great time because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I've got you watching a thriller. Yeah, because Palante will have more than 3.5 strikeouts.
You watching a thriller.
And Newbar's going to have a home run, at least one home run. So you know how to get in touch with Wesley?
Oh, we will get in touch with Wesley. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. That's a good thing. Wilson, great job. Wilson running the show today back there.
Yes, good job, Wilson.
Yeah, as our audio and video engineer. Matthew, this was fun. Thank you.
Of course, sir. Thank you.
And we'll be back at it tomorrow. By the way, on Thursday, we've got a shortened show. And then hopefully on Friday, the goal, let me see if we've nailed this down yet. The goal on Friday is to have one of the right drivers from the Bommarito Automotive Group 500.
Those guys are always awesome.
Yeah.
Also, the plan, it looks like right now, we're going to be adding our second carry to the Sports Hub I should say the Randy Karraker Show family, because he's already on Sports Hub. We've had Chip on the show. We have yet to have Stephen Carrier on the show, but Stephen is in town and is going to be coming by and sitting in this chair and co-hosting with you one of those days.
Oh, love that.
So we're going to get another carry on the Randy Karraker Show.
Looking forward. I thought you were about to say Davis.
Oh, no.
So but you know what? We got to get CD on the show.
We should get CD on the show. You know what? As we're talking about the Steelers, you're right.
That's
the Steelers. You know what? That's a good point. I'm going to have to text Carrie.
Yeah, Carrie might join us in ripping the Steelers.
He might. You're right. That's a very good point. You might.
So, all right. Thank you very much for being part of the Randy Karraker Show, featuring Brooke Grimsley, Matthew Rocchio in for Brooke. Wilson doing a great job, and we will see you tomorrow morning at. Have we changed it to 10:04 now?
Yeah, it's definitely not 10 o'clock.
No?
It's certainly more like 10:02, 10:04, because to Chatter's comment earlier, there is a turnaround now, and so things we'll keep finding a mesh point. Joe Roderick and Wilson did a great job getting us set up. I got to get out here and get on the air earlier. Today was more on me, so we'll call it 10:02. We'll call it 10:02.
All right, sounds good. Until tomorrow morning at 10:02. Have a terrific Taco Tuesday, St. Louis.